Hello, everybody. It is your Uncle Fish back again for School Fish Art Stream. J-Man wants a Gatling gun on the end of his tail. Oh my goodness. J-Man says the tail's where you put all the heavy artillery. Damn. Said he used to have a howitzer on the end of his tail. Oh, hello, hello. How's that working? All right, is that working for y'all now? I'll give y'all a second to catch on and catch up with the comments. For some reason, it went to a weird, different setting for my microphone. Is the audio coming through now? Testing, testing, one, two, three. Hello, hello, hello. There we go. PJ says. There we go. Kyron says. And if my chat overlay isn't going to work, then I'm going to take the chat overlay off because it does me no good if it's not going to work right. All right. Back to the beginning. This is a rare public Thursday show since my audio wasn't working earlier. Duh. For two reasons. One of the reasons is I wanted to take public comments from people to see who might have cool ideas for what we're going to do for the next homage cover for the next issue of KAAW. On the first one, we did Barbarians, and we did, Barbarians from the good old days that inspired things like KAAW, like Conan and He-Man and Gru and Thundar and Mytor and Skeletor and Bobby from the D&D cartoons and Cerebus and even Captain Caveman and Black Star in there. Uh, and this was a really popular cover. People really liked this, and I wanted to do another homage cover to Karen says he never has good ideas. I don't believe that for a second. Don't get to be that rich without having a couple of good ideas here and there. Um, so I wanted to come up with a cool idea, and I wanted to open it up to the public to see what fans of the book, fans of the show, might like to see on the next cover and get to have a say in that. So that's part of why we made it public. The other part of why I made it public is because today is the last day to get in on the Sentinels campaign. And you can see up here in the top corner, I put a QR code up here in the top of the show so that y'all could see and scan in and go check out the Sentinels if you haven't already. It's actually went down just a hair this morning, I believe, but it's within 900 bucks of the goal. That's not bad. There's 9 hours left to go now. So it's something folks need to get in on. Roy is one of the most solid dudes in indie comics. He puts out books regularly on time. They just book after book after book after book. He's the kind of guy that we want to be like. He's the kind of guy I've learned so much from working with him. I've picked up so many things like not going to Kickstarter until the book is done has been a really valuable lesson that I learned from Roy. And that lets him just go straight from getting the money from Kickstarter to sending it to print. And his books come out faster than just about anybody else's on Kickstarter I can think of. And it's a throwback book to like the 80s kind of look. So it's got that simpler color scheme. I just love it. I've got nothing but compliments on the pages from the books. Everybody that's seen it is excited about it. But, I know it's a tough time right now for a lot of folks, and finances have been kind of tough. And there's a whole lot of cool books out right now on Kickstarter, which also makes it kind of difficult. But man, there's so much awesome stuff. There's 9 books that you can get. This is the ninth book in the series. If you haven't got the Sentinels before, you can pick up the older issues. And like after the first 2 issues, it's basically just me from then on until the very last issue because I got real busy. And so he brought in some other cats to work on it, and it came out really cool. I was really excited about that. There's even the collected trade that has all kinds of extra cool stuff in it if you want to get that. I personally am really proud to have that on my shelf. Um, it's a great book. There were some commission slots for me in there. I'm not sure if they're all taken. I think there's some commission slots from Cody on there, Cody Converse, I believe. Anyway, it's a great book. If you haven't got out there to back it, you need to get out there to back it. You can scan the QR code that's up here in the top corner of the screen. You can just go clickety click, 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 you know, scan that with your phone and go check it out. And man, give it a back. Even if you just get the digital copy, man, it's a good book. I'm really proud of this one. And I'd like everybody to check it out. And mainly, I'd like to support Roy because Roy's my man. Roy is a good dude that kept a roof over my head and kept my kids fed all through COVID. He's a good dude. He's the kind of dude that I want to be like. So, that's what I'm saying. Get out there and back my boy Roy. That's what you need to do today. Back a Roy. Kyron says the Spider Man 300 homage is the way to go. I have to check that out. It's not coming to mind right off the top. And Kyron says, no, that's crazy. It, It is indeed. Let's pull that up again. Let's look that up because I'm sure I know what you're talking about. It's just not coming to mind because it's been a long day already. Oh, wait a minute. Not just Spider Man. That's not going to do. It's not going to do it at all. Bunch of craziness. Bunch of foolishness. Let's look up some images of Spider Man 300. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I get it. I I get it. Yeah. All right. I smell what you're stepping in. But I was really kind of thinking of doing like another homage poster with a whole bunch of characters on it again. And let's see. Karen said, I like Roy. If I could be like Roy, I want to be like Roy. What's a good dude to be like? I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you I'm a big fan. And not just because he pays me money to draw funny books. So I got two different blank cover layouts. And like originally, back in the day, when I finished the first homage, I had so many other barbarian suggestions from people. I thought about just doing another barbarian poster and just use everybody else's suggestions that didn't get into the first one. And then I started thinking, about doing because I'm a big proponent that there are barbarians other than just straight barbarians in stories. Like there's lots of characters that fill that role of a barbarian and have the vibe of a barbarian that aren't necessarily, you know, sword swinging barbarians like Chewbacca in Star Wars. Absolutely a barbarian. Um, Lots of other characters that fill the role. Like, I mean, Thundar is a barbarian, but like Uklaw the Mock would definitely fit in that category. Lots of different characters. Man, I had a whole bunch. I got a whole list of them somewhere, but I'm drawing a blank right now. I thought about doing like alternate barbarians. Then I thought about maybe doing Saturday morning cartoon characters, that we grew up that we loved, the kind of things that helped inspire KAAW, like He-Man and Thundercats and Silverhawks and just all those cool shows, Transformers and all that kind of stuff. I thought about maybe doing an homage to that. I thought about maybe doing a whole bunch of heroes from cartoons and stuff, and then maybe on the next book doing a whole bunch of villains. I even thought about maybe doing a wraparound cover and maybe having like a whole bunch of superheroes and stuff from the good old cartoons rushing this way across the double page spread cover, wraparound cover, and have KAAW leading the charge, or transversely, maybe having a whole bunch of villains attacking from one side and KAAW, defending against all these bad guys. So, what are y'all's thoughts? Opening it up to public conversation here. What do y'all think? Any of those ideas strike your fancy? Is something that we ought to do for this issue of KAAW? Or because I'd really like to give it to be something, I'd really like it to be something that lots of people could drop in suggestions, something I could open up to the public and have a lot of people say, oh, what about XYZ? What about this dude? What about that girl? Because that's just so much fun to get to take part in that. And like when I get to holler out a suggestion to somebody and see it come up on a project they're working on, that's a pretty cool feeling. So I'd like to give that feeling to somebody. So what about just 80s cartoons? That's kind of what I was thinking. PJ likes the Barbarian Homage idea. Kyron likes the 80s cartoon idea. All right. That's Dorn. Okay, now it says there's somebody else watching right now. So do we have a tiebreaker between 80s cartoons and the Barbarian Homage? Oh, there's Sarah. There's Sarah. Okay, Sarah. you have the opportunity right now to be the deciding vote between what type of variant cover homage we're going to do for the next issue of KAAW. Do we want to do another edition of the Barbarians and try and fit other Barbarians and other people that kind of fill that role, like Chewbacca and stuff in there? Or do we want to do like 80s cartoon characters? Uh, Kyron just suggested, dun, 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 what about action movie heroes? Which could absolutely be cool too. Oh man, that would be cool. Have like freaking RoboCop in there and all kinds of. Oh, that could be really cool. Um, that could be neat. My only question is if it's just action movie heroes, that gets to be a pretty limited field pretty quickly because like Schwarzenegger did a whole bunch of them, and still Stallone did a whole bunch of them, and Bruce Willis, and like there's a handful of dudes, Jean Claude Van Damme, Chuck Norris, that did all of these roles. So it would end up being a whole lot of the same dude over and over again, I think. But I think it would be cool to include those characters in something else. Natalie Bennett and I think 80s. All right, that's 3 votes for the 80s. All right. We are painting rocks and watching you draw. Awesome. But I love Kyron's idea about the action movie heroes, and I think we mix them together. That's what I'm thinking we do. And that way we can have freaking Optimus Prime and Panthro from the Thundercats and John McClane and RoboCop and uh, basically just draw the cast of the Expendables, he says. Oh, dude. Dolph Lundgren He-Man. That would be a pull. If I could get that to look right, that could be really cool. I mean, I hated the Dolph Lundgren He-Man movie as a kid because I was a huge freaking He-Man enthusiast. I lived and breathed He-Man when that came out, and that was not He-Man. That was not my He-Man. As an adult, I went back to watch it kind of out of anger just to prove that it was a bad movie. And on its own, it's actually a pretty decent 80s sci-fi flick. If you completely remove its attachment to Masters of the Universe, it's a solid sci-fi flick. It's pretty good on its own. As long as it's not attached to He-Man, it's not bad. And that was hard for me to admit because I really hated it. But it's actually not that bad on its own. So, okay. Now that we've got kind of what we're going to do just 80s flashback all together and we're going to mix it all up together. Now, for the Chirons and the PJs and the Sarahs and the Natalies and the Bennetts of the world, the next question that we got to answer, we got to ask ourselves first. We got to search deep in our souls to find out where we stand on the matter before we vote publicly. But we need to ask ourselves, self, because that's what I call myself, self, do we want to do a wraparound cover for this one and get all fancy pants? Or do we want to do a standard cover? This is a deep question. It might take a second of contemplation to decide. Personally, I'm kind of leaning towards the wraparound cover myself, but PJ says John McClane, The Bride, Ellen Ripley, Ethan Hunt, Inspector Lee, Detective Carter Neo, Terminator, Robocop, all awesome action movie heroes. You know what? I didn't even think about Ripley. That didn't even occur to me. Oh, dude, man, put her in that power lifter thing, man. She could be like on the same tier as uh, not Robocop, Optimus Prime. Dude, that could be really cool. Okay, okay. I'm digging this idea now. And I'm thinking if we're going to do this, we need a little room. So me, myself, and I voted already that we want to do a wraparound cover because I think that would be awesome. So that's partly what we're going to do because, Lee and Carter from Rush Hour. And now, but Love the movie. Not really 80s, but love the movie. I mean, we're talking Jackie Chan, Rush Hour, correct? Unless I'm missing something, thinking of two different things. But first, I'm just going to draw a couple of lines down my guideline because I have a double page spread set up for Kablam standards, and it's got all the cut lines and safe lines and all that stuff like I normally have. It's just set up on a double page spread outline, and I left a ruler guide on one layer that has that gutter space for the double page spread. And, when it's on the inside of a book, this is basically area that's going to get lost in the fold. So this is where you don't want to put faces or fists or dialogue or important things that need to be seen because it's going to get lost in that fold. And unless you just want to really tear up your comic getting it perfectly flat, you're not going to see it. So even when I'm doing a wraparound cover and I know that's going to be on the outside, I still try and avoid putting really important things there because this is where the staples are going to be. This is the outside edge of the book right down the middle. So it might get a little wear and tear over the years. Like it would be easy for the ink to get chipped off here over the years. And I don't want to have somebody important's face in there. So I try but you can get creative and put like, one here and one over here and, not, you know, you can get it real close to there and not make it look like there's a big gap. You can have other parts of the body going across there, but I try and not keep I want to keep the most important things out. And I think because we're going to be doing so many characters on this one, I do believe I'm probably going to do this in a whole bunch of layers. What's up, Katie? Glad you're here. Uh, to catch you up on what's going on. Hey, you want to go over here in the corner and scan that? Go check out the Sentinels if you haven't already, because we're in the last few hours on that Kickstarter, and we still told them I would really appreciate everybody. Really proud of this computer. Says I got too much stuff going on trying to do the live streaming and all. Go figure. Crazy computer. Um, yeah, I've been having trouble this morning. I apologize. My computer is having a bit of a time here. I'm gonna turn off everything that I can. But also I gotta admit, I started using Sarah's suggestion of using crisp, and it definitely helps cut out a lot of things, a lot of extra stuff, but sometimes it also cuts out little bits of my audio and stuff too, especially when I talk weird or you know, well, I talk weird a lot of the time. Duplicate that. All right. So I'm going to be working in a few different layers. And one of the things that I tend to do when I do that is I will paint the whole layer white. Oh, wrong button. Paint the whole layer white, which you see I blocked out my outlines there. And then I'll kind of drop the transparency down a little bit until I can sort of see through it and know where that line is. And I do that because now, like I've got my layer set to blue line over here. So whatever I draw in black is going to be blue. Now I can draw a character on here and I'm just going to draw a shape right now just to show you what I'm talking about. Yeah. Here's a fist sticking out. Here's his other fist sticking out. Here's his little head. Do, 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 yeah, super blob. Um, I can turn my transparency down so I can see through that white layer and see what's going on and everything. And then I can turn it up, drop that out for a second. I can select the outside of that shape. And when it's done processing, I'll select all of that white and delete it. And now I have a shape that I can move around that could be overlapping characters behind it. I could move it down and have it be overlapped by characters in front of it. You know, it could be overlapped by the title, or I could move it up and have it overlap the title. Um, it lets me move those characters around, and when I'm doing a whole bunch of characters on one scene, I tend to pencil them this way so that they're filled in white and opaque and they'll cover up what's behind them. But I that way I can resize them and move them around and finesse them better than if it was all pencils on one layer. Then it's kind of hard to move. You know, if there's a person and you can see part of their body here and part of their foot sticking out here, it's hard to get all that selected and move it, and everything gets overlapped and it makes a big mess. This is a little more time intensive, but this works out for me, and you'll see as we go through how this works. Um, let's see. PJ says, get on screen. If we're just going 80s, E.T., Beetlejuice, Roger Rabbit, Indiana Jones, Marty McFly, Akira, Ghostbusters. Oh, man. He's got some good suggestions up in here, man. PJ's the man. PJ's got it going on. PJ's the guy we all want to be. All the guys want to be him. All the girls want to get with him. That's what they say on the street. That's the word about PJ. That's what I hear anyway. That's what I hear. Okay, so that's what we're going for. I am going to select. My mouse is go back and paint the whole page white again, which is going to block out my little outline. I'm going to drop the transparency a little bit so I can see where it is. And the first thing I want to do is I want to lay out a cool rough for KAAW. And in this image, I kind of want KAAW to be out here like leading the charge of all these cool heroes and stuff from the good old day. And then I think on the next book we'll have all the villains and stuff coming after him. That would be cool. So I almost forgot when I started sketching that out that KAAW's got those gigantic, massive ham fists. So I almost drew just a regular little forearm there, and that doesn't work for old KAAW. KAAW's got them crazy big old fists. They're too big to scratch a boo hiney with. Can't have your fist be too big to scratch a boo hiney. Old KAAW's never known anything else. So he has to scratch his boo hiney on a rock like some kind of savage. That's why they call him Savage from Beyond the Stars. They saw him scratching his boo hiney on a rock. We don't do that kind of thing on this planet. This ain't a rock butt scratching kind of planet around here, is what they said. KAAW wasn't having it. God just went to war. That's his first reaction. Now, if the kiddies in the audience are unaware, Uncle Fish is a bit of a weirdo. It's okay. It's okay to be a weirdo, kiddies. Some of the best folks are weirdos. Well, I know a young lady from up in the northern regions of the country, name of Sarah White. She's as weird as they can be. She's just dandy. Oh, Katie says she's gonna be very disappointed now if there's not a panel with him scratching his butt on a rock. Coming up in issue 5, God, Butt Scratching Illustrated. The hard thing about Kaw is trying to A, give him kind of beady eyes because he's got to have that giant Cro Magnon ridge on his brow. This can't be too big, but they've also got to have like completely psychotic looks. So that can sometimes be a bit of a struggle to get both of those things happening at the same time. And like right now, the white layer seems absolutely pointless. It's not making any real difference right now because he's the only thing on the screen. But in a minute, when we're drawing other characters, we'll see. And making the whole layer white kind of helps cut out the noise of all the other images when they start to get layered up. And then, of course, lets us help layer the characters over each other. Let's see. Little Sarah says, "Doo. I don't know how people watch kids full time. One of them is having fun painting rocks, and the other is bored and getting into trouble, and I can't watch the show at all. I'm telling you, it's a tough gig out there. That's a tough gig, especially when you got more than one of them. None of them want to do the same thing at the same time. 'Cause that would be easy. Not going to do that. Of course, on the other hand, when you have them all the time, or when they're yours, then you know them a little bit better. You know what kind of things to do. It's easier to like. It amazes me to watch my daughter-in-law with my grandbabies because she just can read them so easily and knows exactly what they want, knows exactly what that unintelligible grunt meant, and it just floors me to see how good she is with them. And I'm like, man, I was lost. That kid was just screaming. I was just letting him scream because I don't know what else to do but hold him right now. I don't know what he wants, but man, she's got them kids wired. She knows exactly what they're after and what they're crying about, why, and how to fix it. And it amazes me. But then, like, I was the same way with my kids. I knew what they wanted. I don't have a clue what Cadence might want, or Quintus, the my little bitty baby, grandbaby. I ain't got a clue what he wants. Mama knows. Mama knows if it's hungry or it's poopy or he's gassy or just wants to be bounced or whatever. She got all that. Man, I ain't got a clue. Not a clue. Now, a lot of this is probably going to get end up being covered by other characters, but I want to go ahead and draw all of him out because then that gives me the freedom. It takes an extra little minute to draw it all out like that, but then I got the freedom to move him around wherever I want to and move him around forward and backwards in the layout. And I have discovered over time and after doing a few of these style of covers and stuff that it's worth the extra investment of time. Now, I'm not going to, necessarily pull a Cody Converse and ink and color the entire characters. I'll probably still ink and color it as a monolith, but for right now, it works great for the penciling. And now again, I've turned off the other layers so my selection tool doesn't accidentally leave white blocks behind the lettering or something. And then I'm selecting everything outside of KAAW, which is all painted white because I painted the whole screen white. And now I'm going to delete that area. Now you can see the lines below him there. And I'm going to go ahead just to make things a little easier on myself. Whoops, didn't mean to rasterize it. I meant to turn it into an image material layer. And so now he is an object that I can resize and move around on the screen. And he's probably not going to be that big on the finished cover. He's probably going to be pretty small because I want to fit lots of things in here. Um, Turn the title and stuff back on so I can see what I'm doing. All right, now we got him in there. And now we're going to go to another layer. Duplicate that layer so I've got a clean one up there. Going to turn that layer on. And I'm going to paint it white. Everything disappeared. Well, I can turn down the transparency a little bit and now I can see him. So I can still kind of work around it and try and keep stuff in scale. But I can keep stuff in scale together. I know where I'm working around, but I'm still going to draw the whole whatever it is I'm drawing. Oh, good gracious, we got lots of messages here that I haven't kept up with. Let's see. Okay. PJ says I got 3 boys that I take care of full time, and it does get easier. Yeah, the better you get to know them, the easier it becomes. Like you know when you can tell when they're starting to get bored and cut it off before it gets to a meltdown and stuff like that. It's easier to read. I have no maternal instinct with human children, but puppies, I can always figure out what they want. Hazel used to have tantrums when she was too tired, just like a human toddler. Absolutely. After a period of uncomfortability, it becomes the norm. Absolutely. Like for a long time, your Uncle Fishy was babysitting, but it was just one toddler for a while. It was my girl Chloe, and she was like 2 years old when I started babysitting her. And I had to figure her out. I had to learn her ways, learn the things about her, learn the things that made her laugh, learn the things that she didn't like. Next thing you know, she was my buddy. And then all of a sudden, her little baby brother Cade was born, and I'm babysitting 2 kids now, and and 2 of them in diapers at the time. And so I had to figure out a whole new baby. But so I learned him from the get go, from just pooping. After the first one, I was there from the beginning. So every time they learned to do something new, I was there and I got to learn it too. So it was a lot easier. Absolutely. Okay. Now let's see. What is the next thing that we want to put in here? Um, you know what I was kind of thinking? It would be cool to have like maybe a couple of cars in the background. Oops, I'm still on white. Like maybe have Knight Rider in the back here racing along. Now I'm just roughing this out right now because I need to actually stop and find like a reference picture of Knight Rider so I know what I'm doing. But I'm just roughing out the car for right now just to get an idea. Some dust coming off of it. That could be cool. That could be real cool. So let's do. Let's do a Google search, boys and girls. Not kite rider. Couldn't eat. And of course, we're going to get a bunch of front on images of the car because you got to see the cool little in the front. I got to say, people may have their different feelings about it, and I know they was trying to, pull off the Transformers rage and stuff at the time. But when I was a kid, and all of a sudden they changed Kit, and he's all all the stuff, I lost my freaking mind, dude. I thought it was so freaking cool. Um, God, that pursuit mode was so awesome. I gotta admit, I really got. All right, we're gonna hold on for a second. Let's see. Um, let's see if we can send pursuit mode. Uh, let's see, car from the side. Okay, there's wrong side, but it's from the side. All right, all right. Let's copy that image right there. That's what we're gonna do because we're gonna cheat because we're working digital, and digital's all a cheat anyway. Everybody knows that. Digital art ain't all- it's all cheatery. It's the proper English term for it. Cheatery. It's cheat-tastic. Whoops, that's not the tool. That's the tool. Crazy fishy. It wasn't an object. It's an image. Stupid, stupid fishy. So let's bring this down over here so we can reference it right next to the little column that we started drawing. I gotta admit, that's probably a whole lot closer to the angle that we need because I'm thinking this is going to be straight on into the distance, horizon right around here. So yeah, the car doesn't need to be tilted quite as far as I drew. So I'm gonna fix that. It's not gonna be that straight on, but it's gonna be a little straight. Straight, straight, a little straight. That's what they say about you, Uncle Fish. So back is a little bit higher. Comes out. Scoochy scoop. And I also kind of dig the pursuit mode because it's so weird and like uniquely an 80s kind of thing. I just I dig that vibe. It's just one of those weird things. It's like, yeah, yeah, let's do that. The kids love that. Oh, they love the changing in the robots. I like them big when they're gonna make robot buildings that transform into buildings. The idea of giant robots, cool. The idea of playing with a building, not so much. And I'm just drawing the side of the car right now, and then I'm gonna figure out how far I want to take it into perspective. I don't want it to be I don't want it to go out super far. I don't want it to be really tilted up. I want it going more into the distance, but I want to see a little bit more of it than this is showing. Right behind that is the next wheel well. And a lot of that wheel well is probably going to get covered up with burning rubber smoke. But it's nice being able to work digitally and being able to just bring that reference right up. We're not going to have the panels deployed because those panels are the brakes. We're not braking right now, baby. We're going full steam ahead. Maybe nobody will know what this is because it's not because it's got the panels out. By George, it's my favorite. I, it was weird, but man, I dug it. Got a little curly haired Michael Knight in there riding away. Then we'll lift a little bit over this way. Oh, oh, that's not where that goes. 'Cause that comes down and then it rises up. because why wouldn't it rise? Oh, I see what they were doing. They were flattening out that line there with the windshield. Okay. That kind of sort of makes some sense a little bit. Just a wee bit. Bum biddy bum biddy biddy bum 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 biddy bum biddy biddy bum bum biddy bum biddy biddy bum da dun da dun da dun 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 da dun da dun. Of course, got to have another wing in the front. Not fast unless there's wings on both. Can't remember. I think there was like boosters back here. But there we go. Okay. So we get that roughed out. And take the smoke back a ways because everybody wants to smoke. So nobody wants it from PJ. Everybody else wants to smoke. All right. Turn the old lettering off. Gonna give it a little zoomy outy just to make sure. Gonna give a little selection there on the dead space. We're gonna give the computer a little minute to think because the computer needs some times. PJ says that car has all the aerodynamics, the good ones and the bad ones. All that extra space. And now we're left with a little old car. So I'm going to convert that layer to an image material layer. And now we got a little zoom, 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 vroom, vroom. Just shake you. Get a little car. If we end up packing so much stuff in here, we need to shrink it down. We can do that. If we only have three more ideas, we can make it really big. It's just, man, this just makes it so easy to do this. And I can, oh, wait a second, he's not behind KAAW. Okay. I can drop him behind KAAW and you see how easy that is to be able to move that around. And, oh, maybe I want KAAW to be behind there. So I can just drop his layer behind it and now make him a little smaller. And now oh, I'm covered up in smoke. I can't see. It just makes it so much easier when you're planning out a cover like this that's going to end up having a million pieces in it. It takes extra time to set it up this way, but it is so worth it to just take that time for a second and do it this way. Do each one of the pieces in layers. That way you can move those pieces around. And because I filled the whole page in white before I drew it, when I delete all that extra white, I now have dark outlines and a white solid background as fill for this character. I don't have to make a second layer behind it to fill and then sandwich them. It's all in one piece. Just delete the excess and boom, stick it on top. It's great. It is wonderful. Love it, love it, love it, love it. All right, I'm gonna duplicate this layer again because I'm keeping one of these layers as because for some reason when I made my template is set to black and white for some reason for this page, and I have to colorize the layers. I colorize this one layer and I'm duplicating it so I don't have to go back and make an extra setting for it. I know I made a mistake and now I haven't gone back to fix it, so I'm just accommodating it. Okay, so we're working on a new layer again. I'm I'm gonna paint the whole thing white, and then I'm gonna drop it down the transparency a little bit so I can see through and know how I'm drawing in relation to everything else. Um, yeah, what else? Oh, man, you start thinking of vehicles. There's so many. Dude, dude, the iconic 80s vehicle. And it'll help fill up some of the other space in there, not just rolling on the ground. We are going to go over here. We're going to do a little such and such for, how you spell that? DeLorean. I are not a good speller. And I got a bouncy little keyboard. So occasionally it bounces around on me and I type in some weird stuff. Let's see, flying. Problem is, most of the movie stills are so dark. Okay, I'm gonna take off the flying. Just look for a clean image of the car. So that model actually probably better to work off of. That's not bad. Let's copy that and then bring that in down yonder. Drop it in. We're gonna give a little flippy flip so it's going in the right direction, and it's actually kind of still going in the wrong direction, but that's okay. We're gonna draw it going the way we want. We're just gonna use it for a bit of reference. That's what we're gonna do. Ba-dum, 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 ba-bum, ba-bum. You're right, PJ. It was the DeLorean. Katie says for some reason I've never seen the start of Back to the Future. I've only ever seen the ending. Well, for some reason, Katie has failed being a pop culture enthusiast. You gotta see the whole thing. You got to. That's it, Katie. Come over to the house. We're gonna watch Back to the Future. I'll have the popcorn ready when you get here. Whoops. All right. I'm thinking we're gonna be looking just slightly up at the car because I want it to be a little higher up. And that piece that goes up, sticks out, bumper dealy, and then that's pretty smooth incline here. Got a little bit of a bump there, a little bit of a rise up there. When the second movie came out, my brother was manager at the local Pizza Hut. and Pizza Hut was doing a big promotion, you know, with the movie, get lots of people out to go see it and whatnot. And he wanted to do something really jaw dropping. So one of my very first commissions was from my brother to do a 3D model because I had gotten really in to making paper models of cars. And I would, I started with these ones that I would get from my teacher that would have, an image of a car drawn on it, like broken and flat, and you would cut it out and fold it together, and you would end up with this very simple model of a car. And I fell in love with that idea and was fascinated by, how they made this work and how did they get this complicated three-dimensional shape out of this flat two-dimensional piece of paper. Just amazed me. So I started studying and making my own and got really into it, which is now like called paper craft or whatever. There's all kinds of people that do it and make all kinds of cool stuff out of it. And I was making my own vehicles and stuff out of it. And so my brother commissioned me to make a model of the DeLorean and that he could hang up in the ceiling of Pizza Hut and look like it was flying around. And I was like, oh man, that'd be cool. Yeah, I'll do that. And absolutely took me longer. Go figure. Commission took me longer than I expected it to. Who would have thought? No, that hasn't happened to any other artists out there. Your Katie's and your Kyrens, they're always dead on time. Nothing's ever taken longer than they expected. I know for a fact. But yeah, that took me longer than I expected. And then, like, I thought I had scaled everything up so that this car was going to be massive. Like, I thought when I got done, this was going to be like at least a 3 foot long DeLorean because I had blown all these measurements up off of like what I could find about the real vehicles and stuff. And I thought I had my scale all figured out right and was cutting out all these gigantic pieces to put together. And my model ended up coming out about a foot long. Uh, let's see. Come on, Mousy Mouse, work with me here. Little Katie says, I wish I lived closer to my friends. It'd be awesome to watch movies with my US friends. Damn ocean getting in the way. Swim, girl. Excuses, excuses. Don't make me swim over there. Cripple butt going drown halfway. Just put on a swim cap. Come on. Let the dogs paddle beside you. You'll be fine. How big can an ocean be? Morning, fishing everyone. Good morning, Jay, man. I'm glad you could pop in for a second. Say hey to boss, man. If he's, I'm very rarely on time for anything. Says Kate. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Katie, I think Katie be late on nothing. Well, is that alternate cover call? It still is. Yeah, somebody else's Katie, not mine. Should be talking sass about my Katie. I love how like that's gonna. It's so well thought through. I mean, like it had to like practically be thought through to like go underneath the car to get around the gull wing doors and stuff. But I love how that's all thought through and like it's practical and works and not just, done to look cool. Like, I mean, it is just done to look cool, but it's actually also like, wired so that lights and stuff would actually light up and stuff. So it has to actually work in some degree, not perfectly. But the real kicker was for the model was figuring out like these kind of complex shapes and stuff that I hadn't done before, and then figuring out how I was going to make things like the Mr. Fusion out of paper because of course my thought process is too linear to think, oh, I could probably find extra bits and bobs around the house to put together to make that work. No, it has to all be made out of one thing because that's what I'm doing because, reasons. Can't make it easy on myself. Um, dang it. Dang it. Should have took a rope and hanged it. I did that in I got distracted looking at the car. And there's one problem with working off of a reference that's not exactly right, the right angle and stuff. I'm looking at that car, drawing the back end of the car at this angle when I've got mine at the different angle, which makes drawing that part a whole lot easier. But, you know, I didn't think through. I drew that at the wrong angle. That's the one thing I can't just erase. I got to paint stuff out with white ink, but it's worth the hassle. Mr. Fusion sticking up there. And probably have some glow coming off the wheels. For now, I'm just going to close all that in because when I select the white area, it's worth going around and taking an extra pass on the outlines real quick to make selecting it easier so it doesn't go inside any of those little gaps in my drawing and cut out a big chunk of the inside too. 'Cause sometimes you don't notice it first, and then you go to overlay it over something and realize, oh, wait, it's not absolutely opaque everywhere. Now, see, it blocks everything out so nice and neatly. And then I'm going to select the background, select all that extra white that I don't need. Going to delete it. And then I'm going to convert layer to image material. And now we got us a little roomy room in the sky that we can move around any which way we need to. And he's in front of KAAW right now. We can't have that. So we'll put him behind KAAW. Now he's also behind his reference image, but we're going to get rid of the old reference image. We could stick him over here. We could stick him over here. He's probably going to end up being small. But and we're just going to give an old check, see where that stuff is. And you know what? I'm going to drop down the transparency on this folder a little bit so I can see through it. And then I'm going to move this folder down to the bottom so that everything we do right now is going to be on top of it. But that way I can see it. Whoops. And I don't have to keep deleting it. I mean, I don't have to keep turning off that layer, and can just get in there and draw. We just ate Philly cheesesteak sandwiches, says the J Man. Look at them go, J Man. A little early for Philly cheesesteak sandwiches, I guess, but it depends on what time you get up and get to work. Some people take their lunch at 10 a.m. Some people take it at 3 a.m. So, it's all relative, I reckon. All right, gonna go back to my blue layer. Gonna right click, gonna duplicate. Come back down and turn that old layer on. Gonna paint that old background. Turn that old transparency down a bit. And I'm gonna duplicate that. Turn that off. And now I can just duplicate that later and have that stuff already done. Save myself a couple more minutes. Let's see. Katie says, bum bum bum. I just made a folder for the first time for the background layers of the cover I'm working on. I'm even naming the layers. You and D are being bad influences on me. Good. I'm glad we can be a bad influence on you. A few seconds of organization, as much as it goes against my nature, a few seconds of organization saves me a whole lot of time down the road. If it saves me time, it saves me money. And I'm all about that. Because the quicker I get a job done, the more money I make, essentially, because I got it done in less time. Okay, we got a couple cool iconic vehicles in there, but we need to put some kind of iconic beings in here as well. So, we've got Flying KAAW in the foreground. We've got Racing Knight Rider and a Flying DeLorean in the foreground. Who could keep up? That's my question. Because this combined nonsensical cover needs to make sense. Who could keep up in the foreground with them? My first thought is Chitara from the Thundercats. But no, I want to put the Thundercats in there. I really kind of want to put the Thunder Tank in there next in the foreground. Uh, Rocket Man burning up his fuse up there alone. Yeah, like the Rocketeer. That'd be cool. Or is there another Rocket Man I'm not thinking of? The Roadrunner. All righty then. Is weird enough to make the call. Okay, let's go. Let's go, Barbie. Let's go party. Uh, uh. All right, let's see. I need to get a good reference. Man, don't even give me a bunch of tennis shoes. Bunch of nonsense. So I see all this and I swear it's wrong. But, and some of the new stuff does look a little bit different than the old stuff. But okay, I'm kind of digging this face and stuff. So we'll have him running, but sticking his tongue out. I think that's funny, and that kind of gets his vibe. So okay, we're gonna come down below the layer we're working on, and we are going to bum ba bum 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 edit face to show in position. It's so tiny. And the Roadrunner absolutely positively needs to be out in front of Everrobota. He is beating everyone to the finish line, yes. Because some wily coyote told him there was birdseed at that finish line. it's weird, kinda, that, like, I've never really drawn so many things that other people draw all the time. It just kinda, I don't know, weird to me. I've always done my own thing, and not because I couldn't draw the other things. Like, there's some people I know that drew their own thing because they just couldn't draw what they wanted to. But, yeah, I could absolutely draw, He-Man or the Thundercats, and I studied the way they drew, but I just never bothered to do it. I always had my own ideas I'd rather draw. I like it when he's got the goofy eyes, so I'm gonna try that, see how that looks. Yep. I went to erase and not white, and then that's gonna end up leaving a gap. I don't wanna do that. Did it again. Ah, yeah, Rocketeer. That's a good idea, PJ. I think we need to stick him in there too. That's an absolute great idea. Uh, oh, now we and see, the other nice thing about dropping those, titles down to the bottom is now that I make this solid, it blocks that out. I don't have to worry about them getting in the way of the selection. So when I select the outside area and we wait, and we wait, and we delete, boom, baby. There we go. We got us a little road runner running. Got a little road runner action. We're gonna convert that like into, because we're gonna be smart, make this easy on ourselves so we don't have to grab an extra tool every time we want to do something. We're gonna put, we gonna put that big old 6 foot ostrich looking sucker right yonder. All right. Rocketeer is a good idea. I think we need to stick him up here. Duplicate that. Go turn it on. Whoops. Oh, rotate a little bit so it's a little more organic for our arm. And we're going to turn our post correction way up. So we get a nice straight line. When we draw our little zoomies, then we're going to turn our post correction back down. It needs to be. We'll start drawing leather clad Rocketeer. Man, I tell you what, after the movie, I had to go get the graphic novel, The Rocketeer, and man, oh man, did that have a huge impact on my art. It was impossible for it not to. It was so cool, and it was so different compared to, that period piece action of it was so different than what I was seeing everywhere else, and all the, hyper gritty, violent swearing, uh, stuff that was so big at the time, with gritty Batman and all this stuff. Like, it was just such a different vibe. I just loved it. And I loved the realism of the work in the graphic novel. Like, it, for the most part, looked like photos off of real dudes. And I loved it. That's good enough for that right now because he's going to be way in the background. I'm probably going to get a better reference and look at him a little bit more closely but when I ink him, but that's going to be a little bit down the road because we're going to add a whole lot of stuff to this between hither and yon, as the kids say. The kids still say hither and yon, don't they? Surely they do. They don't want to be uncouth. We're going to drop little Rocketeer back in line because he's cool. He ain't the coolest. He's not the coolest at all. He's not like a PJ sitting on an iceberg sipping a mint julep because that's the coolest. Gonna convert that old layer to an image material layer. Yeah, I get so southern sometimes. I guess I kind of get tired of fighting with my draw sometimes and just roll with it. All right, let's see what we got here. We've got do 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 do. We've got the Rocketeer. We've got the DeLorean from Back to the Future. We've got the Mighty KAAW, the Cro-Magnon. We've got the Pursuit Mode Knight Rider. We got Roadrunner. Um, let's see, hour 18. I'm thinking through what I was supposed to do today, and I was supposed to do one thing today, but it got taken off my plate because I realized it was going to overlap with the show. So somebody else is doing that thing. And so I'm just thinking through, making sure. The only other thing I got to do today is I got a call with a certain somebody to help me work on my website. And I need to make sure I don't miss that. Um, gosh, there's gonna be so much cool stuff to put on here. I tell you, I really want to do the Dolph Lundgren He-Man now that we've been talking about action heroes, but I also want to do He-Man on Battle Cat. I don't know if I can do Dolph Lundgren He-Man on a Filmation Battle Cat. Something seems wrong about that. Something seems like it just ain't right. God, I want to do it. Um, I also really want to put uh Panthro and the Thunder Take on here in the foreground close up because Panthro is my boy. I love me some Panthro. Um, but anyway, I think I'm gonna take a break here and I'm gonna stretch my back and I'm gonna do some other things and we're gonna keep continuing this on the show and I'm probably gonna go live a few more times throughout the next week or two and work on this at some extra times because I kind of want to get a vibe for what some of these other time slots are like and see if maybe we can find a point that lets everybody be able to take part and get more people in than just the most awesome folks that happen to have mornings free. So all right. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you enjoyed my silliness. And thanks for the input on the cover. We're going to keep on it. We're going to make this cover something cool. So, anyway, thank y'all and peace out. I will see y'all again soon.
Hello, everybody. It is your Uncle Fish back again for School Fish Art Stream. J-Man wants a Gatling gun on the end of his tail. Oh my goodness. J-Man says the tail's where you put all the heavy artillery. Yeah. Said he used to have a howitzer on the end of his tail.